How exactly did I get the position to host the Daily Fix? People think that all half Asians kind of look alike. Haha. I don't know what's going on. Amazing. And I was so afraid I was gonna shit myself. Do I consider my job easy? What's up, everybody? I'm Sydnee Goodman. Thanks for coming back. So this is part 2 of my hosting question videos. Hi, Sim. Oh my gosh, so cute. Do you want to come say hi to everybody? I feel like, no, you need to. Pow, pow. Hi, boo. Hi. Yeah, let's get started. What's your daily routine before and after shooting a video? For working it from home, doing the Daily Fix, for example, is I have like a pretty hefty morning routine because it's pretty much the same every day. But we have a morning meeting where we go through the stories for the day, we go through the different news products at IGN, and that's where we choose kind of what's headlining for the Daily Fix. I submit my, like, what I think would be best, and then we talk about that, talk about what the headline is gonna be, what the angle should be, and then I have some more morning meetings, especially because we're not all in the office, that are kind of like, let's sync with everybody from IGN. And so I'll do those meetings while I eat breakfast, and then I'll kind of finish up my makeup if I haven't finished it already, and then I will set up the camera and kind of where I shoot, and then I'll shoot the Daily Fix, and then I will send it off, and then that takes me to about 1 o'clock. It's a very busy morning. Someone asked, how did you find an interest for this job of hosting? How did you manage to take it up full time? I think that this is something that I have always felt very called to do. I could not tell you why. I just have felt very called to do it. And that's why I think a lot of it comes very naturally to me, is because I followed that calling, and I think, I don't know, call it what you will, but I don't know what I'm gonna say. Okay, how did I manage to take it up full time? So that's the other thing. I talked about freelance gigs. And there's a lot of freelance host work out there. I did not start as a freelance, and I'd imagine if you were freelance, you probably would wanna definitely have an agent, because your agent will help you get jobs. I think it'd be a lot easier if you were a host at an established outlet, and then you make connections and people see, oh, I've seen her, she does good work, let's hire her for freelance. As far as managing to make it full time, IGN had a job opening and I applied and I got it, and that is how I managed to make it full time, is kind of going that route of working with an established outlet or established thing, whether it's an outlet, a YouTube channel, etc. So yeah. How exactly did I get the position to host the Daily Fix? I don't know. I don't have very much insight into that. I think they just liked my work. I had been at IGN for, I started at SnapFix in August and I started in April. I'd been at IGN for 4 months and started taking over SnapFix. Well, I started SnapFix in August, and then September I took over the Daily Fix. So I think it was just showing up and doing the best that I can and being good at my job. I know that's not a very sexy answer, but can anyone who has a love for games do it? This is a hard truth, and I feel uncomfortable saying this because there feels like a tinge of arrogance, but I really hope you don't take it that way. It's just being realistic. I would love to sit here and tell you that anyone who wants to do this can totally do it, but that's just not super true. I think that there are so many different factors on whether or not you can do this. I was incredibly privileged when I was in college that I worked part-time, but I didn't have to work full-time, and so I had the extra time to dedicate to streaming and to building those extra skills. Not to say if you do work full-time and go to school and are in extracurricular activities, you can't do that, but I recognize that I'm very lucky that I had that extra time to do that. Things like that. I had money to spend on me going to conventions and networking and meeting people. And I'm really lucky because I think I have intrinsic talent at being in front of the camera, and that's something that comes very naturally to me. And again, these are all things that I think are skills that you can build, but because I don't have experience as somebody who maybe hates being in front of the camera, but for whatever reason wants to become a host, and then trying to learn all of these skills and then becoming a host, I don't have that experience, and that's not my story. So I can't comfortably tell you yes, that's something that can totally happen. But I do think that in general, if you apply yourself and you don't give up, and all those cliches are cliches for a reason, because they are true. If you keep doing it and you think you can do it, you can probably do it. But I also think there needs to be a certain amount of openness to not everything in life is going to look exactly as you want it to look. That's just not how things work. So hopefully that answers your question. How did I develop my brand? I feel like we kind of, I don't know, I think I talked about the importance of having a brand, but I don't know that I talked about developing it. My brand is a combination of an extension of my personality plus my mission statement, and I think that's my brand. So I think establishing your mission statement and then understanding the things about yourself that, I don't know, are marketable has been helpful with developing my brand. How much time do I spend planning videos? Oh, I thought that said playing video games. Planning videos. I think that's something that we haven't talked about yet, which is that the cons of this job, there's a lot of pros. There's also a decent number of cons that I did not realize. One of them is that it never ends. I'm pretty much never not working. And when I am not working, I feel like I'm doing something wrong, because I feel like it's like I should be, you know, interacting with commenters on Instagram. I should be posting on Instagram. I should be posting stories. Like, it's very difficult for me to turn that off. Or even when I'm playing a video game, when I'm watching TikTok, when I'm outside, when I see a new experience in LA, for example, my first thought is like, oh, how can I make a video out of this? What would the angle be? Would this be interesting to people? Have I done videos similar to this in the past? I feel like it's just this thing that is always going. And, you know, it's a huge blessing to work in an industry that I am very passionate about and that I care a lot about, and that I love video games and to do something that I love. But something that people don't tell you is that when you do what you love, what's the saying? It's like, if you do what you love, then you never work a day in your life. I don't think that's true. I think if you do what you love, then you are always working, because even when you're doing the thing that you love, your relationship with it changes. And I haven't quite figured out how to turn that off. But it's very hard. I do not play video games in the same way or consume any content in the same way that I did prior to working. And take that for what you will. I don't know, sometimes it's kind of annoying. Other times it's kind of annoying. But I recognize that, you know, I have a choice. If I didn't like this, I could leave, but I don't want to, because I love my job. Let's see. Do I consider my job easy? Absolutely not. I think other people probably think it's easy, but there's a lot of behind the scenes things that you don't see and that go into it. You know, all that research, all of the scripting, I think all of the personal branding, the networking, the posting on Instagram, being present on social, you know, the physical thing. I spend so much money on clothes. I love fashion and I love clothes, and I care about what I look like on camera and how that is shown. I say I love clothes, I'm wearing sweats. I feel like so much of my money, I'd say almost all of my money, goes towards, you know, I feel like I want to feel and look my best in front of the camera. I never would have thought that I'd be spending money on facials, but here we are, because I want my skin to look nice. I am not a huge makeup person. I have a lot of makeup now. I have tons of clothes. I used to wear mostly black and white. Guess what? Can't wear white on camera, which sucks, because now all my white t-shirts you're never gonna see. So things like that. I can't remember the original question. I don't consider it easy. Absolutely not. I think it's pretty hard. I mean, it's hard in terms of it's a lot of hard work and a lot of work, but I think it's also hard because it's competitive. A lot of people want to do this, and so you need to be at the top of your game. To give you a lowdown on all of the things that I do, I have a full-time job, work at IGN. My output is at least 8 videos a week, which is the daily fix and the snap fix every day, 5 days a week. And again, I write and host and produce those. And then I have a weekly podcast that I co-host with Kate and edit. And then I have a weekly YouTube video, and then I stream once a week, and then I try to post on Instagram. I mean, prior to my health stuff and the pandemic, I was posting every day, maybe every other day, and then I always make sure I have 3 stories on my Instagram and my Snapchat. Then I do freelance work occasionally, so it's a lot of hard work. And I'd imagine if you were only freelance, you know, you're grinding because you need to keep getting work. I have a lot of people asking me what my ultimate goal is. The thing is, I think I've gotten here because I have been hardworking but open. I am going to work towards my goal, and then I'm open to just following things that are interesting to me. If I like something, I'm gonna do it more, even if maybe it's not what I thought. Does that make sense? So while that's not as super interesting, what's my end game? I don't know, my end game is I value my time, my energy, and I want to be able to be creative, and my end game would be creating a situation where I can do all of those things. Be my own boss and be in charge of my own time. I think time is the most valuable thing, and it would be great if I was in charge of my own time. which is great. So that's my ultimate goal. How did I realize that my goals were being accomplished? I don't know, I'm really hard on myself. I think that I am the type of person that I have a goal, I'll reach my goal, and then in a split second all the time, all of a sudden I have another goal, and where I currently am at is not good enough. And that is not healthy, and it's not fun. Again, I go to therapy, and it's something that I've been working on with my therapist, is just enjoying the journey and enjoying where I'm at currently, and realizing that even if you have high aspirations and goals for yourself, that does not mean that where you currently are is a bad place. Do I ever feel pressured to bring your Filipina heritage into your work? Definitely not pressured, no. It's something that I actually try to consciously bring in more often, because I never really realized it, and I feel like it's something where a lot of people compare me and Olivia Munn, because she obviously is Olivia Munn, and she worked for G4 and is an awesome host and all of that, and she's half Asian and I'm half Asian, and I feel like people think that all half Asians kind of look alike. But you know, seeing Olivia Munn do what she did, work in video games, be a strong female face, was really inspiring. And anytime I see like an Asian person, even if they're not Filipina or Filipino, I am so excited, because I think that, you know, being Asian and growing up Asian, I was not encouraged to work in a creative field or industry. And so seeing other Asians do it is really inspiring for me and continues to inspire me. And I hope that other people who maybe feel like, you know, they don't see people that look like them on YouTube or on TV or on their phone or Snapchat or whatever it is, that I can do that same thing for them, and just make people realize, like, if you really want to do this, regardless of what you look like, you can do that. I would say it's something that I'm very passionate about, and so it naturally comes into my work. I think it's also hard to ignore, because I am half Filipina, and so I look half Filipina to some people, I guess. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I feel any pressure though. What's the hardest thing you have to go through before and during a huge event like the Game Awards? A lot of these big events and productions come together. I don't want to say it's last minute, but it's just like there's so many moving pieces that a lot of times, like, I don't know what interviews I'm doing, or I don't know what my script is. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know any of that until sometimes it's like a couple days before the actual event. I would say in most cases, it's a couple days before the actual event. So you have to be very comfortable with kind of not knowing what's going on, but being comfortable with the team that you're working with, that, you know, they have your back. They're not going to let you fall on their face. They're good at their jobs. But also be comfortable with yourself that it's like, that's enough time for me. Like, I can definitely do my research. I'll do as much as I can prior to the thing. And then once I get there, I do it. Luckily with the Game Awards, this was my 3rd year doing it. Thanks so much for always having me back. So I'm a lot more comfortable with the process and kind of understanding the flow of things. And that team is like top notch. So that's not something I'm even remotely concerned about. But there's definitely other productions, especially if you're working freelance and you're working with a team that you've never worked with before, it can be a little bit anxiety inducing to be like, okay, like, haha, I don't know what's going on. There was a production that I did that I literally signed my contracts to do the production like 12 minutes before we were set to go live. And that was very stressful. But I think a lot of what hosting is, and what I think is a strength of mine, is I'm like pretty easy to work with. I think being easy to work with, it's understanding the line of being taken advantage of, but also understanding that everybody's doing the best that they can. And as a host, if people aren't doing their job to the best of their ability, that's something that can be addressed in a post-mort, which basically is like a meeting after a production that talks about kind of the things we did good, things that we can improve on. But also that it's just like, I know I'm a good enough host that if all the T's weren't crossed and I's weren't dotted, that I would be able to pick up, like, I'll be fine. I can figure it out. That has come with more repetitions and doing this more. I do sign a decent number of NDAs. NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. If you ever sign an NDA, definitely follow it. Don't break it. Why break it? Don't sign it if you're gonna break it. Favorite gaming snack? Kombucha. How did I get away with misperceptions of being a girl gamer in the industry? Again, goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think the more that I have become strong in knowing who I am and knowing that I have a lot to bring to the table, and that my viewpoint is unique and great, the more that I've been able to get away from those misconceptions. But I also think that those probably will never go away. I think it's something where it's like, I have realized I want to be doing this job, I want to be working in this industry, and that means, if that means that stuff comes with the territory, yeah, it sucks. I'm gonna do and deal with it in the most healthy way that is productive for me. which sometimes means not looking at the comments. Did you ever feel insecure to be in front of the camera? Yeah, at times. Again, when I just don't feel good in front of the camera, whether it's like what I'm wearing or I feel unprepared. But also there was a time where, you know, I tend to overthink things. It's like, what do I do with my hands? I know that's a joke, but like sometimes I really don't know what to do with my hands. What do I do with them? But I think the more that I have been in front of the camera, the more comfortable that I feel. Probably my biggest tip that I would give people who want to be doing this, but maybe you don't feel totally comfortable in front of the camera, is get in front of the camera every day, tell a story, you know, put your phone up, film yourself telling a story. You don't have to put it anywhere. But just get used to talking to the lens and get used to, you know, how you speak in front of the lens. What's interesting? What do you like? I have some weird tics that I do that I don't like that I do, and I notice them and I stop doing it. Great example is when I'm really interested in interviewing somebody, I tend to lean in, but I lean in a very hunched, not cute way. And so that's something I'm aware of. And so when I'm doing my interviews, I make sure I string pulling up sort of thing. Was I ever too demanding, strict of myself? Yes. How does your job affect your home life with your family? It does. It affects a lot of things. Again, feeling like you're always working and that you're not. It's very difficult for me to turn like my brain off, my work brain off. And I think I learned the hard way, again, boundaries, what I share and what I don't share. I don't share a lot of Alex and I on my Instagram or my YouTube channel. Sometimes he'll pop in, sometimes he won't.
Are you proud of me?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people I follow who their relationship is like very front and center on their Instagram or on their YouTube channel. And I love it and I think it's so fun to watch. But I've also realized that I share so many other parts of my interests and other things that I've chosen to keep that more private and more separate, which is why you don't see us doing a whole lot of like couples challenges or things like that. I think Alex is like the single most supportive, wonderful man that luckily he doesn't get like threatened or get upset. I mean, he'll get upset sometimes about comments when they say like shitty things about me, but usually that doesn't happen very often because he's very just like, what's the saying? It's like, let the things roll off the back. Let the water glide off the black. Let the water glide off the back. Right? He's so chill. And so I don't know, it's been really cool to have somebody who believes in me probably more than I believe in myself. I don't know. He's great. Yeah, and then I think like with my parents, it's just, again, I am really careful about who I tag on my Instagram. I get people's permission before putting them on my Instagram just because, you know, there's people who are more private and they don't want a bunch of like fans following them. What did I do after college? Was I stressing to find a job or did I wait for a good opportunity? I was so stressing to find a job, oh my goodness. So the first half of my senior year, first semester, I was consulting with Red Bull on the Destiny partnership, which was an awesome opportunity. And then the second it ended because the Destiny partnership terminated. And then I was interviewing with Red Bull. They stopped talking to me. I had a phone interview with them in February. And then I just kept applying to jobs and I graduated in May. And the day after graduation, Red Bull was like, hey, can you come in for another interview? The entire time I was stressing, frantically applying to jobs. And I would say it's a combination. I don't know, you know, my job with Red Bull was I was a something coordinator, where basically it was not sexy. I was like uploading videos and I did some light strategy, but really it was a lot of like appending end cards, thinking about how can we make end cards more optimized, optimizing SEO. I was like very SEO heavy in the beginning of my career, which isn't something, I mean, it's really interesting. And I think how videos are surfaced to people and like algorithms are extremely interesting to me, but it wasn't something that like, you know, SEO hosting. I don't even think that I knew that. I just knew I wanted to work in video games in some capacity. And so I wasn't picky. I think that, you know, when you take jobs and when you look at leaving a job for another job or whatever, for me, it's a lot about like, what am I learning? How much more can I learn here? Where can I go from here? And I felt like Red Bull is such a, I was working for Red Bull Media House and it's such a recognizable name. I still love the company's ethos. I thought I could learn a ton about being a creative, creativity, SEO, like production. I knew I had a lot to learn there. So even if the exact position wasn't like this, like, oh, amazing, my dream job, I knew that I could learn a lot at that company. And so it was like, cool, perfect fit, love it. So somebody asked, do the benefits outweigh the negatives? For me, it does. I think that this is just something I deeply love. And there was a point in time where I seriously considered changing my career because I'm not gonna get into that, but there were some pretty very apparent negatives that I did not think about that were kind of life-changing negatives, and I very seriously considered changing careers, and ultimately after considering it I realized that I wanted to keep doing it. So I think that's a personal decision whether or not the benefits outweigh the negatives for you. Do you need an agent or a sponsor? I'm not sure what a sponsor, like a sponsor, like people who are sponsored by G Fuel, for example. I mean, it'd be great to have a sponsor. I think that question is a great time to kind of distinguish between content creators and hosts, and they're very different. And I think I blur the line a little bit more than maybe some or other hosts. There's other hosts who also have YouTube channels and are considered influencers and hosts, but that's not something that everybody does. And so what my agent does is my agent acts as an agent for both my social media accounts. So for example, I did a deal with Tostitos on YouTube, and he brought me that deal. But then there's other things, like when I hosted for Twitch Rivals last January, he also brought me that deal. Great. But in terms of a sponsor, you know, I don't really think there's long-term partnerships. Like I worked with Koi CBD for 6 months, which is like a long-term partnership. There's people who have those partnerships for a year, etc. And I guess that's sort of similar to sponsorship, because when we were at Red Bull, for example, there were Red Bull athletes who were sponsored by Red Bull, and they got like a monthly amount, and then in their contract it was like you have to appear in X number of videos for Red Bull per year. You have to, let's just say, have like a snipe on your stream, meaning like there has to be like a Red Bull logo on your stream, etc., etc. I don't know if those were the actual terms for Red Bull athletes, things like that. I don't have any sponsors. I think that those kind of long-term partnerships though, and those sponsorships are really helpful, especially if you're freelance, because it's a steady income. And when you're freelance, what that means is you're kind of contract to contract. So there's a chance that maybe you don't have work for a couple months, and that means you're not getting a paycheck. So if you were to have a long-term partnership or a sponsor that you get paid on a monthly basis, that would be your paycheck, which is really helpful. Having an agent I don't think is essential, but I've found it very helpful, especially because my agent he does a lot of like the legwork for me in terms of I need to get permission from IGN sometimes for certain gigs that I might want to do, and he facilitates that, like that relationship. And he'll look over contracts for me and things like that. However, I didn't have an agent when I got my job at IGN. I got him like halfway through my first year at IGN. Yeah, I don't know. It's nice to have somebody working for you and somebody advocating for you, but I don't think it's essential. When you work, do you have specific hours like 9 to 5, or do you go work whenever you like? That depends on if you're freelance or not. So with IGN, I work 9 to 5, sometimes later. That's the thing about this job, is it can be really demanding. I would say, you know, I've had some health issues. In August, I passed out because I was working too much, is ultimately what my doctor not diagnosed me with, but was like, this is the situation. And so, yeah, I don't know. I am supposed to work like 9 to 5, but sometimes you work more than that. In other freelance jobs, it is more like, okay, like I have this shoot they need me on Thursday from like 6 to 9, and then I need to be for rehearsals all day on the following Monday, and et cetera, et cetera. So just depends on the nature of your work as a host, if you're a full-time like in-house host or if you're a freelance host. Okay, this is the last one. Do you get nervous about being sick physically well before big events like TGA? TGA is a tough one because for some reason my body like reacts very differently to it. Like last year when I did the pre-show, I was physically shaking, and I don't know why. It kind of calmed down after a while, but my legs were just very shaky, which I was like, don't love this. And then the first time that I hosted TGA was also my first hosting gig. I was really excited. I was very rocky road because I was very excited at first. It's like, yeah, I can do this. I'm so excited. Like my first time reading a teleprompter, it's gonna be live in front of all these people I respect and a live audience. Amazing. And like millions and millions of people are gonna watch this. And then the day before, because TGA Game Awards is always on a Thursday, and the game before, I remember like looking at Alex and being like, what have I done? I can't do this. This is horrible. Why did I say yes to this? I'm gonna fall flat on my face. Like I had a lot of self-doubt. And then I was like, nah. Then I crushed it. So yeah, sometimes, but I've never, oh my gosh, no, there was one. So I have been having health issues this entire last year, and they're like a lot of gut issues. And so I was doing the red carpet premiere of, what's that Tom Holland, Chris Pratt Pixar movie? with the legs. I can't remember the name, but I was doing the red carpet premiere with Max, and I was so afraid I was gonna shit myself. Like, sorry, there's no other way to put it. I was afraid I was gonna shit myself. Luckily, this girl Katie, who's awesome, and I miss Katie. I told her, it's just being transparent with the team. I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to do that red carpet because I was so sick, but I wasn't like contagious sick. Like, I knew it was like an innards thing. And so I told Katie, I was like, if I need to run and shit, what do I do? And she like found a route for me to run to the bathroom. It would not have been ideal. I ended up being totally fine. But yeah, that's probably the only time that I've been like legitimately concerned, like, what if I just like explode on this carpet in front of all of these celebrities? That's very embarrassing. And this camera and all of my coworkers, that'd be horrible. So on that note, we got through them all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope it was helpful. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.